This is Gemara and Eiruvin Daf Tes. Tonight, Shir should be a schos for Shlema for you. The Eruvin Yakir men of Figel Cham Rum Bechanita Chaim and Sayu some Simon Rizid the Service Kinda to Basim Chaisara. Yisrachaim Sarasni Yusuf in middle years of Virgin Ben Yud Shavalay to Nibin Chaitz or Social Bas Navi which Avigo Shirchana Rafal David Ben Riva Shishana Teva Bas Esther Beser Shaychali Yisrael. We pick it up in the bottom of Chasman Beis. We're on the second wide line. We read through this Gemara's question very quickly at the end of yesterday's Shir. So now let's pick it up and let's explain it properly. Says the Gemara, Chasman Beis, second wide line, 4 lines from the bottom. You put in 2 pegs in the 2 walls of the mavli. You can envision as you walk into the mavli on the 2 outer walls, you drill in 2 pegs from the outside. And you put a kaira on top of those pegs. Basically, a kaira not inside your mavli, not on top, on the outside of your mavui. Ma'u, what is it din? Amar lei, let's read it and we'll show a picture. Amar lei, ledivriya matir oiser, ledivriya oiser mutter. According to the mandarma that a moment ago that said it was mutter, here it's going to be aser. According to the mandarma that says aser, here it's going to be mutter. Let's pull up a picture and then we'll explain. As you see here in the picture, beautifully how they have the 2 pegs on the outside of the mavui, the beam on top of it. So we're saying the Divriya Aiser, according to Man Da'amr, that before said it's going to be Aser to carry underneath the Mavui. The reason is because the inside edge of this beam goes downward. So over here, if the inside edge of this beam goes downward, that edge will be flush with the walls of the Mavui, then it'll be mutter to be carried. According to the Divriya Matir, who said that the outside edge is the wall that comes down. So over here, the outside edge comes down and that will be disconnected from the Mavui, and therefore you will not be allowed to carry. So says the Gemara, so the one who said it's mutter is aser, aser is mutter. Rav Amar comes like Rav and he says no, L'divrei Aiser, Nami Aiser. Even according to Man Da'amr that said it was aser, meaning that the inside edge comes down, even in this case it's going to be forbidden. Why? Being Gairi Gabi Mavi Velaka, you need the Kaira to be on top of the Mavoi. This is not called on top of the Mavoi. This is outside the mavui. Somewhere medayik we saw in the first Mishnah, it's allowed to be too high, and then you can lower it, and that was called on top of. So what it means has to be within the airspace of the mavui. If it was too high, you can lower it, you can raise the floor as we saw. But over here, it's outside the mavui. He says, Rav, it's not going to work. Eisei Ravada Baramasna l'Rava. Ravada Baramasna asked Rava, Haisa Karasai. If your kaira was, moving along to Tasam and Aleph, Mishucha oi Taluya. If the kaira was either Mishucha or Taluya. So Mishucha, the Gemara is going to, in a moment, the Gemara is going to explain. If you see the Tab Rashi over here, Tab Rashi says, Mashma Rechoika Mina Ksalim. It sounds like it's far away from the wall, and we're going to see what that means. Oi Taluya, or it is hanging, we'll see what that means as well. And Rashi says that the tabs are not hitting the walls, or it is hanging. Pachas migimel halachas, if it's less than 3, ein tzarich lavi kaira acheres. You do not have to bring another kaira. Gimel, if it's 3, tzarich lavi kaira acheres, then you need another kaira. Again, this is a question on Rava that Rava said has to be on top of the mavoi. And here we're seeing, even though it does not extend all the way to the mavoi, we're seeing it's going to be okay. Less than 4, you do not have to bring another kaira. 4, you have to bring another kaira. So before we understand the exact case, what is this machlekes Shem Gamliel and Tanakama? A very, very important Rashi, the last wide line in Rashi. Rashi says, Rav Shimon Svir Lei B'chol Docha Pachos Midalid Kilav Dami. We're used to that Lavid is always 3 tfachim. There is the opinion of Rav Shimon that he holds that Lavid is 4 tfachim. So we have a machlekes over here when it's Tuluya, if it could be 3 tfachim away or 4 tfachim away. What is Tuluya? So as you see over here in the picture, this is Tuluya, that the Mavi is basically hanging in midair. How do they do that? They do that by putting a vertical beam and then the Mavi on top of that horizontal beam. It looks like a T and it's far away from the wall. So if it is far away from the wall, 3 tfachim, then we say love it. It's as if it's touching the wall. If it's far away from the wall, 4 tfachim, then according to Shemliel, we'll say love it. So again, this is a question on Rava that we see that is not exactly on top of the Mavui. It says the Gemara, so that's Taluya. My love. And what's Mishucha? I'm sorry, this is really going to be where the real question is. My love, Mishucha, what does Mishucha mean? Mi ba'chutz. I'm sorry, let me say that again. That wasn't a question in Rava. I'm sure a lot of people were bothered. I'm sorry about that. According to Rava, it's very good, because that was inside the Mavli. It's true, it wasn't directly hitting the airspace, but, Love, it says it's hitting the airspace. So what's the question in Rava? The question in Rava is from here. My lab mishucha. What does mishucha mean? Mi ba'achotz. It's on the outside. Utuluya, and what does tuluya mean? Mi bivnim, on the inside. Tuluya is like we just saw, is on the inside, and mishucha, as we'll show a picture in a moment, seemingly is on the outside. And yet, what do we see? And yet we see that even when it's going to be on the outside, seemingly it's still going to work. So that's a question on Rava. The Rava said it's not going to work. Answers the Gemara. Let's read the answer. Loi, EVD, Dimi Bifnim. They're both talking about 7 lines down on the inside. Meshucha mirucha achas, Tuluya mishtei ruchais. Meshucha means it's coming out of one end, and Tuluya means it's coming out of 2 ends. Now the Gemara explains. I would have thought mirucha achas amrinan lavud. From one way we say lavud. Mishtei ruchas from 2 directions. Loya amrinan lavud. We would not say lavud. Kamash Milan, that we're even going to say lavud from both directions. And now Rav Ashi is going to come along with the Nubshan. Again, so let's see some pictures over here. Here we have a beautiful picture. It's a little bit of an aerial view. It makes it a little bit easier to see, I thought. This is Meshucha Merucha Achas. You see over here that this kaira comes out of one, it basically is hanging off of one end of the mavoi, but it's not hitting the other end. That is Meshucha Meruach Achas. And now let's see over here. And then Tuluya is going to be that it's on the outside. Tuluya is going to be that it's on the outside. Comes like Rav Ashi. Let's see Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi is the interesting one. That's where we're going to see a beautiful picture. So the Gemara just said that the Chiddush is going to be that we're going to see love it from 2 directions. Comes on the Gemara, and the Gemara says Rav Ashi, Amar says Rav Ashi, Mishucha Viki Tuluya. The case is that it's both drawn and hanging. How is that possible? You put in 2 bent pegs, and we'll see 2 different ways of having these bent pegs. You already can see on the side of your page in Rashi how he's explaining over here. Al shnei koistei amavi on the 2 walls. She'ein begoivan gimel, that their height is not 3, because again we want to have lavud. Ve'ein bakvu misan gimel, and their bent is not 3, because you want to have lavud. So Ma'u the Tema, what's the Chiddush? This is the Chiddush that this works. Ma'u the Tema, I would have thought, I love it Amrinan, I chavat Amrinan, either love it or chavat. Well, explain what chavat is a minute. Love it v'chavat loy Amrinan, Kamash Malan, that the Chiddush of this case is going to be, they're going to say love it and chavat. What is chavat? Chavat is a similar concept to love it. Chavat allows things to come down. Chavat is like when you have a hole, let's say you have a hole in your roof, and on top of that roof, you'd have a board. Chavod would say we view that board as if it falls down onto that hole and covers up the hole. Basically, Chavod allows things to come down. So let's see some pictures to make this clear. Over here, you see that it's an L basically. It's a miusa. This, like we've seen many times, this bent mavui. Here we have a bent kaira that's hanging up. It's meshucha and tuluya, and this is the case. This is going to be the chiddush. That over here, it's not 3 at either end, and therefore it's going to work. Here's another case, a little bit of a different angle, but maybe this will help some people to understand exactly what's going on. And we have one more over here that some Rishonim seemingly learn that it's the diagonal. It's not like an L. It's on a diagonal, and that's how we measure the 3. And this is how Rav Ashi learns the chiddush of this mavui akum, not this mavui akum. I'm sorry, but this kaira akum. And that is the end of this price, and that's how the Gemara answers that it's not a question on Rafa. Says the Gemara, Tani Rav Zakkai Kamid Rav Yechon. Comes in Rav Zakkai and he learns in front of Rav Yechon, Bein Lechayim Vitachas HaKaira Nidon Kikarmelis, which obviously means that you're not allowed to carry. This is what we really saw at the end of yesterday's year. The Gemara in the bottom of Chesam and Beis, the Gemara said that everyone agrees that Bein Lechayim, between the area of the lechi, you're not allowed to carry. Again, being lechaim, here you see a lechi, and anything opposite that area, this picture is really going to be for a moment, but anything opposite that area, you're not allowed to carry. So says, comes along Rav Zakkai, and he teaches us both being lechaim and underneath the kaira, which we saw already was the machlekes daf back in yesterday's daf, that is nidan kekarmelis, they have din of a karmelis, which you cannot carry. Omar Lei, so you responded to Rav Yechon, responded to Rav Zakkai, Poik Tani Lebra, go teach it outside. An expression that means that it's an incorrect brisa. Omar Abaya, Mistavra Milsa to Rav Yechon. So now the Gemara is going to come to explain which part of this brisa is incorrect. So says the Gemara, says Abaye, Mistavra to Rav Yechon, Tachas HaKaira. I understand the din of Rav Yechon when it's under the Kaira. Meaning, the din of Rav Yechanan, actually, let's see this in Rashi. Let's go down here. You see Rashi. Rashi is about 10, 12, 15 lines for the end of the narrow lines. Rashi over here says, sorry, let me just find my cursor. Here he goes. Rashi over here says, Mistavim Milsa Rav Yechlan, the Omar. It says go teach outside. Elo mutaru, meaning that you said Rav Zaki said it's aser. Says Rav Yechon, no, it's mutar. Atachas kaira kamerle. He's referring to underneath the beam. That's where it's in mutar. As we saw that the outside edge is going to go down, if we're allowed to, yes, carry underneath the beam. So the Gemara, so Abaye explains that which Rav Yechon says. Amar Abaye again. Milsa Rav Yechon, Mistavim Milsa Rav Yechon, atachas kaira. That's where you're allowed to, yes, carry. Avol bein lechayim aser, obviously the lechi you're not allowed to carry. And again, this would concur with what we saw yesterday on the bottom of Chesam and Beis. V'Rava Amar, and Rava says no. Bein lechayim nami mutter. Says Rava, even between the lechi, it's also going to be mutter to carry. Amar Rava minamin Allah. Where do I know this from? How do I know you can carry underneath the lechi? An area that is not 4x4. This harkens us back to the beginning of Gemara and Shabbos. This is called the Makom Betur, an area which is less than 4x4. The halacha is in that area, everyone is allowed to lekatev, to rest their package on it. This is a very important halacha that we mentioned in Shabbos. That we mentioned if someone remembers by accident he's carrying on Shabbos, this was the eitzah. They used to find them down. We said usually it's like a fire hydrant, which is not 4x4. It's a makom tur. You're allowed to lekatev alav, to put something on top of it. Ubelvad. Provided you're not allowed to exchange, meaning you're not allowed to take something from Rishus Rabim and put it on the Makom Torah, then take it from the Makom Torah and put it in Rishus Yachid. You're not allowed to effect a full transfer. So says Rav, just like you're allowed to carry in a Makom Torah, says Rav, so too in our case, you're going to be allowed to carry within this area of the Lechi. It's going to have the same type of din of a Makom Torah of an area of less than 4x4. Comes along Abaye, and Abaye argues. Why does Abaye argue? Hasam Begayva Gimel, there it was 3 tall, and that's why it had a din of 4x4. Whereas by us, it's not 3 tall, so it doesn't have its own din of a Makom Matur. So Amar Abaye, now Abaye comes along and explains his din. Again, Rava learned it out from Makom Matur, and that's the reason why it says Rava, you're going to be allowed to carry even opposite the Lechi in the front of the Mavud. Comes along Abaye, and he says, where do I know my din from? Rav Chamer Guri Rav Chamer Guri Rav taught us that Toicha Pesach, and that was this picture over here, that within this entranceway, Sarach Lechi Acher, even if you have one Lechi, you need a second Lechi to carry within the entranceway. So says Abaye, it's clear. Why do you need a second Lechi? Says Abaye, the reason why you need a second Lechi, a second vertical pole, is because you're not allowed to carry opposite the Lechi. So within the whole entranceway, in order to carry, you're going to need another Lechi to permit carrying over there. Maybe you'll tell me no. Maybe that's only when it's an area of 4x4. Even when it's not 4x4, meaning maybe you would think the only time you need another lechi to carry is when it's 4x4, it's its own rishos. But however, we learned even when it's not, you need another lechi, and that's where Abaye learns out that you're going to need another lechi to carry, and therefore says Abaye is a right to me that you're not allowed to carry opposite the lechi. V'Rava. So what does Rava come along again? Let's remind ourselves we have a fight over here, Abaye and Rava. Abaye says you're allowed to, yes, you're allowed to, confused myself. Abaye says you're not allowed to carry opposite the lechi, and Rava says you're allowed to, yes, carry. Abaye says you're not allowed to carry from the fact that we see you need a potentially second lechi to carry an entrance way. Rava says you're allowed to, yes, carry, just like a Makom Betur. So how does Rava answer up Abaye's raya from this engine? So Rava, Hasam Dibasuach Le Karmelis, over there it's opened up to a Karmelis. That's why you need another lechi. Again, before we see further in the Gemara, we have to get this clear because this is slightly counterintuitive as the Gemara is about to ask. Again, in this case, says Rava, in this case, when you have this entranceway with the lechi, and we're saying that you need another lechi to permit carrying that entranceway, says Rava, that's only if it's opened into a karmelis, a rishos derabanan, obviously not like you see in front of you, open into a rishos harabim. Says the Gemara, Avalar Rishos Harabim Mai. What would the din be if it was open into Rishos Harabim? Shari, then it would be mutter. You would not need the second lechi to carry. So says Rava. So too in our case, opposite the lechi, you're allowed to carry. Says the Gemara. Yetiva Bara of Gerbish Meishmaya. You got a peg in the ground and your head's in the sky. A figurative language to say Rava. That's counterintuitive. That's backwards. I don't understand. If it's open into Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah, then you don't need a lechi. When it's open into Karmelis, Rosh Hashanah, then you yes need a lechi. Says the Gemara, that makes no sense. Answers the Gemara no, it makes beautiful sense, says Rava. Why? Matzah min esmio minoi v'neir. Items find like items attract, and it reawakens the Isser. What does this mean? Very simply, what this means is when the Mavli opens into a Karmelis, then we take this entranceway. Let's open this picture here, and we'll talk about it. When this entranceway, this is what we're discussing over here. This entranceway, says Rava. When this entranceway opens into, let's go the other way. When this entranceway opens into Rosh Hashanah, it has nothing to do with the Rosh Hashanah. I'm in a Mavli now. Midarais, you let it carry in a Mavli. Midrabanan, you need a Lechi or a Kaira. So it's a totally separate area. Now you open into Rosh Hashanah. Okay, you Rosh Hashanah have nothing to do with me. So this me, the entranceway, I am connected to the Mavli. I already have one Lechi. Says Rava, I'm good to go. However, let's say it's open into a Karmelis, then says Rava, now what do we have? We have two Rishuyas Derabanan, and we have a clash over here. Because the Mavui is a Rishus Derabanan you can't carry, and the Karmelis is a Rishus Derabanan you can't carry. Then says the Gemara, says Rava, Matzah Minas Mina, the two items like items attract, so the doorway is attracted to the Karmelis, they're just Derabanan, and that's the reason why you need another Lechi. But says Rava, it's not going to be a question on me that I hold you're allowed to carry opposite the Lechi. Says the Gemara, Amarle Ravuna Breder of Yeshua Rava. According to you, Rav, do you not hold the Bein Lechayim Aser? You don't hold, you're not allowed to carry, we just sold extensively. Abaye says you're not allowed to carry opposite the Lechi. Rav says you're allowed to yes carry. Comes along Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua and says, what? You don't hold, you're not allowed to carry. A mavui that had multiple lachis against the wall at the opening. If it's less than 4, if it's less than 4 tfachim, then it's a machlekes. Rav Shimon Gamliel Rabbanan. Rav Shimon Gamliel Damar Amin on Lavud, as we saw on the top of the Amud. According to Rav Shimon Gamliel, it says you say Lavud. Mishtamish al choydei pinimi shalachi. You're allowed to carry until the inside edge of the lechi. Actually, right here, the Gemara shows us a beautiful picture that you're allowed to carry till this inside edge of the lechi. Cause Rav Shimon Gamliel to say lavud. So each one of these beams, as you see in front of you, is as if it's connected to the one next to it. It's like one big beam, and therefore all the way at the inside edge, you're allowed to carry up an imi. L'Rabban, according to Rabban Damar Loya Min Allah, because it's 4 tvachim, mishtamish ad, you're allowed to carry ad chaydai hapenimi shalachi. I'm sorry, ad chaydai hapenimi shel chitzain till the inside edge of the last lechi. Avol, what's the obvious implication of this discussion? Avol bein lechayim de kuli al ma'aser. Seemingly everyone holds you can't carry opposite the lechi. Question on Rava. Again, here's a little bit more of a 3D picture if anyone wants to see. You see over here, you have multiple lechis towards the end. The Gemara is now saying, according to Rav Shimon Gamliel, if it's 4 tefachim, you can only carry it to this edge. According to the Rabbanan, until this edge. Here's another picture, a little more 3D. Basically, because if it's 4 tefachim or 3 tefachim, it's going to connect. And then it's not going to be allowed to carry. Ask Rav Huna, so what do you see? You see you don't carry opposite the lechi. The Rava, according to Rava, hasam nami to bestuach like Carmelis. The case is it's open to a Carmelis. So Gemara has the same question. Avalar shus Rav, my according to Shus Rav, it's going to be what? Shari mutter. Yitiva v'ara v'gir b'shmei shemaya. Is your peg in the ground and you're going up to the sky? What's going on over here? Answers Rava in matzah minas mina v'neir, as we just explained extensively, that when it's going to be into a Carmelis, then it's more similar to it, so it's going to create the Isser. When it's into Shus Rav, it will not. Moving along to test Amid Beis, comes along Ravashi, and Ravashi says, Ravashi Amar Kigoyin Sheritzboi V'leichayim Pachas Pachas Me'arba. The case over here that we've been discussing is where these kairas are less than 4 tfachim, b'meshech arba amos, for the length of 4 amos. Rav Shimon Gamliel Damar Amin lavud. According to Rav Shimon Gamliel, that says you say lavud when it's 4 tfachim. So what do you have right now? You have as if one big long board, 4 amos long. Havle mavui, then that area, this entranceway area. Again, this entranceway area, if this goes until 4 amos, and each one is less than 4 tefachim, so according to Shimon Gamliel, in that area, what do we say? And that's why you need its own lechi, because its own rishos, it's 4 amos. According to Rabbanan, you do not say lavud, you're not going to need another lechi to permit it. Okay, so now we have a new sugya. That was the end of that. 4 tvachim lavad, 3 tvachim lavad, inside edge, outside edge, end of discussion. Says the Gemara, 1 second. According to Shimon Gamliel, you're telling me you only can carry until the inside edge, all the way inside that mavli. Why don't we say this is similar to a case where a lechi is visible from the outside of the mavli, but not from the inside of the mavli? And in that case, we'll just spoil the fun and then we'll show some pictures. In that case, you're allowed to carry all the way till the end of the mavli. So according to Shimon Gamliel, why are we saying you only can carry to the inside edge? The Gemara is assuming, and let's open a picture now. The Gemara is assuming that when you have these beams, as you see over here, this last beam edges in, goes a little bit into Rosh Hashanah. This is a little bit better. You see from the aerial view over here, the Gemara is assuming that this last beam goes a little bit into Rosh Hashanah. So that last beam is essentially what? Nira mibachotz, the people outside see it, and not nira mibifnim. As you see over here, nira mibachotz. People outside see it, it's sticking out. But from the inside, you don't really see it, as we'll see more about this in the Gemara in a moment. So says the Gemara, why according to Shimon Gamliel, isn't that itself a reason to permit carrying? Says the Gemara, midei hu taima el Rav Yechon. No, what are you talking about? This whole nir mi bachotz v'sham mi b'fnim, as the Gemara is about to explain, that's only according to Rav Yechon. Haki asa, you're going to tell me, I'm sorry, midei hu taima el Rav Yechon. Haki asa Rav am Rav Yechon, nir mi bachotz v'sham mi b'fnim, einoi nidem misham lechi. He argues that it's not a lechi, and that's the reason why it's not a question of Shimon Gamliel, because he's going to concur that it does not have a din of a lechi. So I know that was a little bit confusing. Now the Gemara is going to go into that, and let's just let the Gemara speak out. What's this whole concept of nir mibachotz v'sham mifnim, etc. Says the Gemara, itmar. We're holding about 12 lines down. First one line is nidain itmar. Nir mibifnin v'shav mibachotz. If it's visible from the inside and it's not visible from the outside. Sorry, I just lost myself. Yeah, itmar. Nir mibachotz v'sham nir mibifnim v'shav mibachotz. Nidain mishom lachi. Again, so let's get this clear. Here is the case. Nope, that's the wrong case. Here is the case. Nira mi bachotz, where the beam is on the outside. So when you're outside in Rosh Hashanah, you see clearly a lachi. When you're inside that mavli and you look outward, you don't see anything. It just looks like the wall continues. Similar to this edge over here. This edge, when you're outside, you see it. When you're inside, you don't see it. Says the Gemara, what's the din in that case? In that case, the din is nida mishom lachi. It yes has a din of a lachi. Nira mi. I'm sorry, I just said it backwards. One more time. Nira, yeah. One more time, that's why the picture was the right picture. One more time, I'm sorry. Itmar. Let's take it again. Nira mi bifnim v'shaveh mi bachotz nida misham lachi. If you see it from the inside, it yes has a din lachi. Let's do this one more time. Here's the picture like we started with. That is nira mi bifnim. If it's on the inside, you see it. Outside, as you see over here, it looks flush with the wall. In this case, says the Gemara, yes has a din of a lachi. However, nira mi bachotz, in the other picture, v'shameh b'mifnim, if you see it only on the outside and the inside it is equal, which again, that was this picture which we saw. Again, you only see it from the outside. In that case, it's a machlokes. Rav Chiya, Rav Shimon, Rav Rabbi Chad Omar, nida misham lachi, v'chad Omar, eina nida misham lachi. That's a machlokes when you see it only from the outside. Again, when you see it from the inside, then it's great, because again, the whole purpose of the lechi, of this vertical beam, is for the people in their mavui to know that they're about to hit the end of the mavui going to Rosh Hashanah. It's a hecker. So if you see it from the inside, it's great. You actually can see these pictures as well. However, when it's only viewable from the outside, then it's a machlokes, Rav Shimon and Rav Chiya. Says the Gemara, to time the Rav Chiya Damar nidim misham lachi. I'll bring you a raya. The Rav Chiya is man Damar that holds its yasko. The time Rav Chiya, because Rav Chiya learned, koi sell a wall. That one side enters in from its friend. And again, we'll show a picture in a moment. But let's see what the din is first. Basically, in both cases, that's the integral part according to Rav Chiya. Tistayim. So that's a beautiful raya that Rav Chiya clearly holds that in either way it's going to yes have a din of a lachi. One of these cases, as you see over here, this is nira mi bachotz, when it's cut in the wall. Basically, if you cut off the end of your mavli wall, so when you're outside and you look, it looks like there's a kaira, lachi there. When you're inside, it's straight. So that would be a case where it's nira mi bachotz. or a case of near bifnim where they cut into the wall on the inside. So when you're inside, you clearly see that it looks like a lachi. When you're outside, you can't see anything. In both of these cases, what the Rav Chia teach us, it's yes as a din to lachi. So testayim, that's a beautiful raya that Rav Chia holds, and both near bifnim, which everyone agrees to, and even when it's near mibachutz, but it's only visible from the outside, not from the inside, which obviously is a chiddush, because the whole purpose is a mechitz, is a heker. Maybe actually it's totally in that machlokes, which maybe we'll see, and that's what Rav Chia holds. Rav Yochanan says the Gemara. Rav Yochanan mila shmilei ha. To Rav Yochanan not agree with this statement. Ela shmilei v'lo savrlei. No. Rav Yochanan did hear of this, but he just didn't hold of it. So ask the Gemara an interesting question. I say interesting because the Gemara itself didn't call it interesting in a moment. Says the Gemara, what's your raya? Maybe Rav Chia just brought down this price, but he himself doesn't agree with it. Says the Gemara, one second. Hi, Mike. What are you talking about? Rav Yochanan doesn't hold of it, so he doesn't teach this price. Elo Rav Chia, Rav Chia didn't hold of this. Why is he teaching it to us? The fact that Rav Chia is teaching it to us, obviously he holds to that, and that's the right that Rav Chia holds even near mibachot and not mibifnim has yes of a din of a lechi. Amar Rabbi Rav Huna says Rav Huna. Near mibachot v'sham mifnim, the case that we were just discussing, the case that we just brought a raya, the Rav Chia holds is yes good. Says Rav Huna, nidim shamlachi, it's wonderful. Amar Rabbo Masina Shmaitan. Let me ask you a question. Chatzar kitano. Should never tell you that sound familiar. We had this yesterday. You have a small chatzar that opens up into a large chatzar. The large one you could carry in, and not the small one. Because the small chatzar is like the doorway of the large chatzar. Says the Gemara, 1 second. According to what you just said, as long as you can see it from one side, it's okay. The ketana, the small mavui, should be as if it's near a mibachot. Why are you telling me that you can't carry? The small one should be as if it's near a chutz. Here's a picture in front of you. When you're in that small chutz or looking into the large chutz, you don't see anything. Just like in the case of near a chutz. But when you're the large chutz looking the other way, you see it. So the Gemara is bothered. Why can we see that these corners are like lachis? Why can you carry over here? Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Zera, 7 lines to the bottom. We're going to finish with this. Bekoisle kitana ligidayla. That the case is that the koisle kitana enter in to the gedayla. As you see over here, the small walls enter all the way into the gedayla. And that's the reason why it's not even, says the Gemara, like a case of near mibachot, because it goes all the way in to the gedayla. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Says the Gemara, kitana li gedayla. I'm sorry, v'nechlas goes like kitana gedayla. V'leima lavad. So why don't we say lavad v'tishteri? Why don't we say lavad? And then I'll be mutter. What's lavad? As you see over here, why don't we say that if the area when the smaller walls go in, if the area between the smaller walls and the outside wall is less than 3 or 4, why don't we view it as it shows over here so beautifully, as if it's filled in, and we should say, lavad. Says the Gemara, maybe you'll tell me that the case is talking about 5 lines to the bottom, the mifli gatuva, that it's further from the wall, so you can't say lavud. But the case is that the small one is 10 amos and the big one is 11 amos. So it's only 1 amma, a half an amma on each side. So that's less than 3 tfachim. So you should say lavud. It's not equal. On one side it's 2 away, and on one side it's 4 away, and therefore you're not able to say lavud on both sides. Says the Gemara, why don't we say lavud on one side and it should be mutter? And then the Gemara goes along to say the opinion of Rebbe about pas. We'll pick it up from there tomorrow.